Okay, tell me your name, kind of give me a little background about yourself.
Sure. My name is Lesley Beck. I'm originally from Frankfort, Indiana, but I've lived in Arizona since 2004 and in the Scottsdale area since 2009. I currently work at K&B Nutrition, and on the side, I'm a competitive fitness physique competitor. Just recently got my pro card in the bikini division and also compete in various other divisions within the International Physique League.
Very congratulations.
Thank you.
How long have you been doing the bikini?
I started in 2019. So this would have been my fourth competition. I just recently did about 2 weeks ago.
All right, sweet. And do you have any pets?
I do. I have 2 cats.
And so other awards and achievements besides the pro card?
So I have a total of, let's see, I believe 4 pro cards within the IPL. So bikini, sports model, evening gown, and fitness angels.
Well, you pretty much knocked them all out of the park.
Almost all of them. I still got a couple that I'm going for. So.
What are the few that you're going for?
Going for pro in the athletic division.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that'll be my goal this next competition coming up in August.
All right, perfect. So here at Ballerz, we love to get to know you a little bit more,
Sure.
and we're going to ask some questions. Just fire away, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll start off on a scale of 1 to 10. How competitive are you?
I would say an 8. I'm fairly, I would say very competitive within myself. I don't think it's something that I really display to others. But yeah, I think I'm kind of hard on myself. I definitely, every time I go into a competition, I want to win. I think everyone does. I don't know if anyone doesn't go in not to win. I would say an 8 again because, it's not something I really project. It's kind of more within myself, and I keep to myself. So I wouldn't think others would maybe recognize that about me. If you asked someone that knew me if I was competitive, they would probably not
So
think
just
that.
because nobody knows that you
Right,
want to
yeah.
win, you put yourself in the mate?
Totally.
Okay, all right, sounds good. What's your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I did my second competition in 2020. That was right when COVID hit. And I really kind of, like a lot of people, really got kind of down on myself, kind of a, depression and, being at home all the time, the gym shutting down. I just really felt like I was not able to be my best, and I let it get to me mentally, and it really affected my performance. It affected my physique in general. It just, looking back on those photos from that competition, I really regret letting myself get to that point. But at the same time, I think it motivated me to be even better and to never let anything like that happen again.
So speaking about that experience, obviously we all kind of experienced COVID in our own way.
Sure.
What got you over that hump to, starting to move forward where, you weren't stuck or, depressed or...
Yeah, I just think it was a realization that, we're always going to have challenges and obstacles in life, and we have to learn how to overcome them. I mean, I think it was something that none of us had ever been through before, and there were just a lot of unknowns. But yeah, it's just realizing you have to take, any challenge and use it as a learning experience, which I have. And again, it just motivated. I look back at those photos all the time and just say to myself, like, that's not going to happen again. So
like, nope.
it's a huge motivation.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
So only an 8 competitive?
Yeah. maybe 8.5.
Okay. All right. What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?
So I was just randomly having a spray tan done one day at this place I go to all the time, and I've gotten to know one of the girls that works there pretty well, and like one day she's randomly like blurted out to me, "You are so easy to talk to." And she's kind of one of those that talks about, a lot, and it's mostly me just going, yeah, okay. But I realized, sometimes people just need someone to listen to. And before I kind of got into the fitness world, my past life, I was a social worker.
Oh, yeah.
So I spent a great deal of my life actually listening to people, and I didn't realize how much of that really spilled over to like my personal life, and how, I kind of just naturally developed that technique over time, and I'm glad that it had an impact on people.
Yeah, I always find that people in the social work must have like the biggest hearts ever, because the situations you have to deal with, and I'm like, I don't think I could deal with it. Yeah,
it was hard. It was hard work and rewarding at times, but it's something I had to get out of just for my own mental health, unfortunately, because of the things I would see every day. It just took a toll, and it was kind of time to get out of that for a while.
Yeah, I find the system as challenging.
Sure.
So next question. What is an insult you've received that you're proud of?
So I don't get this as much anymore. I've gotten older, but as a kid and adolescent and young adult, I was very introverted. People used to say to me all the time, "You're so quiet," you know. But it always projected onto me as kind of an insult, like, "Well, why aren't you talking more? Why don't you want to be more social?" And but again, I think it goes back to that listening thing. I like to sit back and observe, listen. You know, I don't always have to be the center of attention. You know, I like to observe others and their behaviors.
In conversation, you can either be interesting or interested.
That's right. Exactly.
And so, obviously, being an introvert, I totally understand that, and it's much easier to be interested than be interesting.
Totally.
What's a funny story your family tells about you that you'd like to share?
So we were driving one time in my hometown. I want to say maybe I was like late teens, maybe like high school age. We were at a stoplight, and I looked over at the gas station where we were, you know, the car was parked, and like I saw this guy pumping gas into a motorcycle. And I just sat there, I'm like, I didn't know motorcycles took gas. I mean, it was something I never thought of, and, you know, my parents were like, well, what do you think they run on? And I guess I never thought of it.
Did you come up with anything? Or you're like,
no. It was just something that never crossed my mind. I just always had seen cars at gas stations, never motorcycles. So my parents, you know, love to tell that as a ditzy, embarrassing moment for me in my life. So.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
What is your favorite holiday movie, and what does that say about you?
So I love A Christmas Story. I watch it almost every year, especially when it's on like TBS on the 24-hour.
Totally.
So I always watched it as a kid with my parents, and I'm someone who I think I'm very nostalgic. And interestingly enough, the movie itself takes place in Indiana, where I'm from.
Oh, I did not know that.
So there's a lot of Midwest and Indiana references in the movie, and so I just love that. And I don't know, it just reminds me of being a kid, being at home with my parents. You know, it's hard for me, since I've been out here in Arizona, is to get in the Christmas spirit, because it's so, typically it's really warm, and, you know, back home it'd always be snowing and cold, and so it really gets me in the Christmas spirit. It just reminds me of being a kid.
So I remember watching it like every year growing up as well. So what were some of your favorite parts in that movie? And there was a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, like, so when they go into the mall, and, you know, they're in the mall to see Santa, and, like, he sees the line, you know, how it's, like, stretched all the way back to forever, and the narrator is like, the line stretched all the way back to Terre Haute, and like that's a city in Indiana, so that was a reference. But just that line, I think, is hilarious. And then of course, you know, the kid getting his tongue stuck on the light pole is a good one.
I love when the mom dresses him up for the cold weather.
Oh yeah, like, that's totally true.
Yeah.
No, that's I mean, literally getting ready for school in the Midwest. When you're a kid, that's exactly what it is. It's not an exaggeration.
That's
so,
tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. I see why you live out here now.
Yeah, right.
So, next question. If you could spend 15 minutes in a hot tub with 4 people at the same time, who would you choose?
So 15 minutes, you know, it's not really a long time. And I think, you know, if I sat here and thought about it, you know, there's so many people you could choose. I mean, dead, alive, celebrity, non-celebrity. I'm a huge sports buff. My favorite team of all time is the Indianapolis Colts. Favorite players are Edgerrin James and Peyton Manning. So I think those two for sure. And then I was, you know, like, well, who are the other two that could kind of maybe, like, bring into the conversation what we would talk about? And I actually thought of my dad, because he's really the one who got me into sports. We always bonded over sports. It's, you know, a very special relationship I have with him with that. And he's a huge fan too. And then my husband is kind of same. You know, that's something we all kind of, 3 of us bond over and talk about quite a bit. So I think that would be just some good conversation for 15 minutes to hear about, you know, their time playing, and especially with Peyton with their Super Bowl win. I would just love to be able to talk to him in person about that instead of just seeing him talk about it on TV.
What would be some of the questions you would ask him?
Gosh. Well, I'd want to know, like, I would want to hear more about his rivalry, I think, with Tom Brady, because that's always something
that's a tough one.
Yeah, like it was always the Patriots versus the Colts with you know, him and Brady, and just like to hear from him. I mean, I've heard it, you know, like I said, on TV a million times, but just to actually hear him talk about it, I think would be pretty cool.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
I think people that make excuses. So I get questions a lot from people I know, people I don't know, that have seen like kind of what I've done with the fitness industry, because before I started competing, I wouldn't say a lot heavier, but I definitely did transform physically quite a bit. And, you know, when I tell them some of the things I do with diet and nutrition and exercising, it's, you know, well, I get a but can you have this? Can you do this? And it's like, you know, you either want it or you don't.
Totally.
So, and again, kind of going back to that experience I had in 2020, it's like I kind of fell into that. I was making excuses for why I couldn't do certain things. And, so it's definitely something where that's a big pet. You know, people, they'll come to you for advice, but then they don't like the advice they get.
Yeah, that's totally. I always find when it comes to that area, when people ask for advice, all they really want you to tell them is to take this magic pill.
Right, or what they want to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And it's never the answer. That, well, sometimes, you know, there are some people that take and
So, I mean, obviously it's tough, right? Because you yourself sounded like you struggled with it for a while, and then you just decided, like, I have to be either all in and follow what everybody tells you to do.
Totally.
Or you know that the other stuff's not going to work.
Exactly.
If you won $10 million today or tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
So I think I'd definitely buy a new house for myself and my husband, especially with the market the way it is right now, a little crazy. And also buy a house for my parents, for sure, for them to, you know, they've officially retired. They still live in Indiana, but I think, you know, at some point they've talked about wanting to move back out here, and so I think I'd buy them a nice house. They've done so much for myself and my husband over the years that they would really deserve it, and something I would love to do for them.
And so your house would be $8 million, their house would be $2 million?
Yeah, I think something like that. That sounds like, a good range. You know, they wouldn't want anything too big, just the two of them, so.
Or just have a guest house and
there you go.
few acre lot?
Yeah.
All right. What do you think the world would look like in 5 years?
You know, honestly, looking back 5 years ago and how it's not totally I mean, there's some like little changes here and there. I really don't foresee it being that much different. I think people are still going to be glued to their phones. I think, you know, there's going to be a lot of stuff, you know, with people making money on social media. I can't really, I mean, I hope.
What would you like it to look like?
Well, I definitely would want us to be like 100% out of this whole pandemic kind of being that we've been in. I mean, my husband and I just traveled last week, and on the flight back here, you know, we finally got to not have masks when we flew, and it's been like 2 years of that, you know, and it was great. It was such a good feeling. So
where'd you guys go?
We just went up to Northern California to wine country.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Napa.
Yeah,
beautiful place.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, I would just love to be, you know, no more restrictions, where travel wherever you want to travel, no COVID tests, no this, no that. It's just.
Yeah,
you know,
that would be definitely nice right now.
I'm really over that whole phrase, the new normal. It's like, I think we need to get over that.
Okay, then now, what do you think it would look like in 50 years?
50 years, I think, you know, definitely like all electric cars. My husband's in the trucking industry, and they're moving towards electric trucks. Yeah. So, you know, definitely just more modern, obviously, and everything more green per se. I think too, like, I think we're already moving in this trajectory, but I think people are going to be living longer. So people living like well into their hundreds, and I think people are just going to be like looking younger. I mean, I just feel like there's more out there to kind of just take better care of yourself, mentally and physically. And I look back, and I was telling my husband the other day, like, I feel like my grandmother always looked old, even though she was probably like only in like her 50s when I was born. And I just see people that age now looking and feeling younger, and I just think we're going to keep moving towards that, and hopefully just better healthcare as far as that goes.
And obviously there's a lot more money that's going into it,
and
there's
sure.
more desire because people take selfies,
and
it's a lot more important to
sure.
look better these days than it was when our grandmas were.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's dive into some sports and some other things about you. What really motivates you?
Really, I mean, this might sound kind of cliche, but I think just being on social media and seeing other women and following other women that are in the bodybuilding and bikini competitor industry really does keep me motivated. You know, like I'll be like sitting on the couch, like not wanting to go work out, and I'll see someone's page of them working out, or like they just won this award, and it's like, oh, that, I want that. And so, you know, a lot of people say, you know, don't compare yourself to others, don't get too deep into following people on social media because it can give you like a bad self-image. But for me, it's the exact opposite. It really keeps me motivated and keeps me going and just wanting me to be better all the time.
So, to summarize, surrounding yourself or even just watching other people really inspires you to take action. And maybe it's the whole competitive spirit, like you want to be better than them, right?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. But but I like how you said that, like definitely surrounding yourself with others that kind of have the same mindset as you. I mean, I don't think there's anything productive if you're, you know, with someone that doesn't have goals and aspirations. It's just going to bring you down. So
yeah, totally. What is the biggest challenge you're facing in your sport right now or business, and how are you tackling it?
You know, right now I don't really see any major challenges in my sport.
You're just like breezing through it, like
well,
I'm
honestly,
gonna get a pro
I see
car,
them. You know, looking back, I just see them as opportunities if there is a challenge. So, I mean, other competitors are always a challenge in the sense that they're your competitor, and that you could beat them or they could beat you. So, but in terms of anything like kind of standing in the way, nothing right now that I can think of really.
Well, what about, because you're in an industry it's a judged event.
Sure.
So it's not always, let's say, fair or judged appropriately.
Sure.
And so tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, one thing I've learned from these competitions is life is not always fair. I mean, literally, I mean, I can tell you there was one division I was in this past competition where, like, I was shocked I didn't win. I thought I should have. I thought I was better than the other people.
Yeah.
The judges didn't. So, and that's just the way it is. Yeah. That's how the sport is judged. It's not like, you know, something that goes down to the final second and someone makes the last minute shot and that's how you determine a winner. So it's just, I mean, it's something where if you can't accept that, you know, it's definitely not the sport for you. Yeah,
no, totally. Who is your most important coach or mentor?
My parents, 100%. Like even, I mean, I think like your parents like never stop being your parents. I mean, I'm always asking them for advice on the most random things. Like my husband and I will be talking about something. He's like, go ask your parents. And, you know, because he looks to them for advice as well. So, you know, I obviously I think went through that stage like most of us do where like you think you know more than your parents, but then realize you don't, obviously, as you get older. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely my parents.
That's great. Yeah. That's awesome. What is one lesson your sport has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
Just what we were talking about, that things are not fair, and things are not always going to work out the way you want them to or you think they should. I mean, I'm reading stories every day about things in life that just like, wow, you say to yourself, wow, that's horrible, it's not fair. I mean, and again, it's, I think going into that type of sport, you know, if you have a hard time with that, it's not something, you know.
So how do you deal with that? Because it still probably stings, right?
It does, yeah, it does. I mean, you just gotta, for me, it's just telling myself that I gave 100%, and that's just the way the cards rolled that day.
And so I'm going to just kind of assume it may be more like, hey, yeah, it sucks, it stings, but the faster you get over it and, you know, move forward and focus on the next step, the next show, right? Because there's more of them and you can compete in those.
It's just another motivator.
All right, sweet. Yeah. All right. So, what's one thing about your sport of expertise that almost no one agrees with you about?
No one really believes me. Like when I tell them that my physique, especially like my core area, my abs, is like 80% diet and nutrition. Yeah. You know, everyone will come like, "What do you do for your abs? What exercises do you do?" I'm like, "I don't work out my abs ever.
Lose as much body fat as possible."
Yeah, and then again, it kind of goes back to, you know, it's not what people want to hear. You know, and I tell people, you know, you can't work off a bad diet. It's just not going to happen. So, I think people that aren't in the sport think that people that are into bodybuilding and physique competing, that like they're in the gym for hours and hours a day, and that's really. I mean, I definitely am in the gym quite a bit for sure.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it, obviously. But
how long are you in the gym?
So
days a week and time.
Okay, so 6 days a week.
Okay.
I get up in the mornings and I do 30 minutes of fasted cardio.
Okay.
So without any food or
Yep.
water or anything. And then I go back later in the day and I do some sort of weights, whether it's, lower body, upper body, and then I do 30 more minutes of cardio.
Okay, so an hour of cardio a day.
Yes.
And about an hour roughly of weights?
I would say, yeah.
All right,
so about
perfect.
2 hours a day, yeah.
All right, sweet.
Yeah.
There you go. Then at what time of day do you get your best work done?
Definitely in the morning, which is so weird for me to say because I used to be the exact opposite. I was never a morning person until maybe the past few years or so, and now it's like as soon as the sun's up, I'm up. And
so everybody has their different idea what morning is. Like there's The Rock who wakes up at like 3 a.m.
Okay, yeah, no,
and
that's
Kobe
crazy.
Bryant
Yeah, no,
and all that stuff. So
no.
what is the morning to you, and how early do you get started?
So I would say at the very earliest, 5:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I always feel that people need to also tell people what time they go to bed, because I'm assuming you don't stay up till midnight.
I don't. No. I'm like physically in bed by 9. I would say starting to go to sleep between 9:30 and 10.
And so you probably strive for your 7 to 8 hours.
I do. Yeah. For
All right,
sure.
as well.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. If you had the ability to fire anyone at any position, who would it be?
I couldn't fire anyone. I worked as a manager for a few years in a past position I had when I was a social worker, and I hated it.